I'm using it kinda. Yeah, I'm going live about Gene Keyz, and I'm live, baby. Hey y'all, peace everybody. Sending y'all love. Again, be right back on the screen. So, I'm going to talk about Gene Keyz. I intended to prepare for this, and I said that on Sunday I'm going to teach about Gene Keyz. Like on Sunday I'm going to talk about Gene Keyz. And as the days went on, like my mind was thinking about just other things in the present moment that wanted to be expressed. And part of what I'm learning through even my experience reflecting on the Gene Keyz is that my perfectionism my addiction can mask itself in the form of perfectionism. And so wanting to teach out a class or wanting to come on here and know everything that I wanted to share and say is not actual, So I just decided to go live, and I just want to put y'all on the Gene Keyz. And if you're interested in it, I have links and I got resources that is copy paste. So hit the DM. During, after the live, whatever, hit the DM, and I'll drop you the link to all the stuff that I'm talking about and some resources if you're actually interested in learning it for yourself. So the Gene Keyz is basically a synthesis, a combination of all this energy that exists right now. And it's a transmission that is for your DNA. And so it's basically we have a certain language that we talk to each other with so that we can understand each other. And there's also a language with which our DNA can be coded. And the Gene Keyz is written as a certain type of transmission that helps to activate certain dormant pieces in your DNA. If y'all are familiar with junk DNA, jump DNA, a lot of people, are familiar with those terms. It's the DNA that they say doesn't do anything, but it's really just inactive. And so one of the intentions of the Gene Keyz is to it's a part of the natural process of you activating some dormant genes. And so if you're coming into Gene Keyz, if you're in this live right now, it's Gene Keyz is coming to you right now for a reason. And it's okay if you don't tap in if you're not interested, but just something is here for you. It's an opportunity for you, it's a gift for you, and you might enjoy it, especially if you're into astrology, especially if you're into numerology, if you're into any self-understanding type things, which we all are to some extent. But if you really like to dig deep into that stuff, Gene Keyz is awesome. And so Gene Keyz looks at things from what's called a hologenetic perspective. So y'all know holographic universe and genetics. So it's hologenetic. It's that everything is a projection of what's happening in your DNA, and everything that's happening is happening to your DNA. And the way that Gene Keyz breaks down the understanding of your DNA is on 3 different frequencies. And it basically talks about the shadow frequency, the gift frequency, and what they call the Siddic frequency, SIDDHIC. So you have the shadow, the gift, and the Siddhi, SIDDHI. And the shadow is basically, if you want to call it the dark, the gift, and the light. And the Siddic frequency, the light, is the pure God's gift, God's pure expression, the most ultimate expression of it. So harmony, I'm gonna pull up the book, but just the purest expression of what our DNA will be and is in another realm capable of exploring. But it's important to remember that in the Siddic frequency, you're no longer in this reality. You dissolve yourself of all attachments. You dissolve yourself of all identifications. You don't. It's a totally different experience. So we can experience glimpses of the acidic frequency when we are operating high in the gift frequency. But if you were totally in the acidic frequency, like, your experience of life would be something that's out of this realm. Like, those are the people that are like, it's a different type of experience. So that's the acidic frequency, right? That's the top, that's the God expression, that's the most light. And then you have the gift frequency. And the gift frequency, actually, let me go to the shadow frequency. The shadow frequency is the seed. It is the way that we either repress or react to what it is that we are afraid of. You know, it is inherent in our DNA, in our genetics. It is inherent for us to experience fear. There's something relating to Gene Keys that's called the sacred wound. And it's basically, if you think back to like Big Bang, like everything was nothing, and then something happened, and everything was everything, right? And so Gene Keys plays with the contemplation, like it just might have happened, and you can understand it from a holographic way that when there was nothing, and then there was a rip and then nothing, and everybody wanted to, everything of the nothingness wanted to fill itself back in the hole. And so the nothingness is filling itself in, but it's just creating more and more and more and more and more that it has to fill in. It's trying to fill in a hole that really is full of itself. And that's what we're all doing. You know what I mean? Like, we're all trying to fill ourselves with things. We're all trying to fill the sacred wound that is just fractal to the sacred wound that happened from the beginning of all of this. Like, we're just fractally experiencing our wound in our way. And so that plays out in our shadow. But in the time and space that we're in right now, our gifts are activating. And so we're able to see our shadows as the seeds that they are to our gifts, and able to really understand the ways that our shadows have been acting like they are cities, but that it's just such a potent seed for the gift to manifest itself. And that is a natural process to be in the shadow and to start to play with the gift and still actually be in the shadow, and to be higher in the gift and still experience the shadow, and then at some point, dissolve into the acidic frequency. But honestly, like, what we're here to experience right now feels like the gift, it's a present moment. But back to the keys. So there are 64 gene keys, which are associated with the 64 hexagram of the I Ching. If y'all are familiar, it is the Chinese Book of Changes, and it's basically like it's not a Chinese Bible, but it's like a Chinese guidebook almost. And it just gives, at one point it was taken more actually literally like a Bible, and like almost like the Tao to a certain extent, but now it's more so of a what would you call that? A medium that can be used. Like, if you had a question, like, how some people use tarot cards, you could do, like, if you had a question, you would just open the book of the I Ching to a page and, like, reflect on the message that it has for you. But it really it links back deep into our DNA and sacred geometry, a lot of stuff like that. And it takes a synthesis of astrology, the I Ching, and like every major religion, and gets down to the root of why it is that we act this way, why it is that what it is that we're representing in our human DNA, and the natural flow that's happening for us to evolve out of that and evolve into it. And so there's what you call a hologenetic profile, which, if you're familiar with astrology, is like your birth chart. And instead of there being planets, there are spheres. And the spheres describe what realm of energy certain genes are affecting you. So I'm definitely going to share the links so y'all can get your hologenetic profile. Just, if you're actually interested, hit the DM and I'm going to send y'all the links, because it's going to be challenging to tap into them from here anyways. So yeah, just hit the GMs because I got like a lot of links if you're actually really interested, because it's something you have to like put time into. I mean, actually, you don't have to do anything, but taking the time to understand it a little bit more. Kai, hey Empress, taking the time to understand yourself and understand the information more is like real activating. Like when I first came into Gene Keyz, I was real deep into astrology, right? Like astro everything, very up to date on the transits and the planets and what's happening, and knowing my astrology and everybody's astrology around me and why they act the way that they act. And then I got reminded about just different types of astrology, like sidereal astrology and Vedic astrology, and remembering that every science is really just art. Like somebody created poetry that made it easier for us to understand what it is that we're doing here and make it more fun, more smooth, more interesting to learn, more something to reflect on, and a challenge and a puzzle and stuff, you know? And so that's how I was feeling about all forms of any energy. And then this game came across my timeline, and it was called Akasha, the Game of Life. And even like Akasha and the Akashic Records and this other energy with some girl that was named like familiar, like it was just all this synchronicity that was happening. And so I opened the game, and I liked the game because I had to enter my birth chart info. So I'm like, ooh, this is going to be some like astrology, like it's going to be a game based on astrology, like it's cool. And it turned out to be more of like a meditation app, but the realms in which they were using to like meditate, like the topics of meditation, or the focus of the meditation was real, like, oh, like, okay. And so I just listened to one download, and it was a guy talking instead of the normal girl, and whatever he said, he was talking about my shadow of addiction. So my life's purpose, my shadow is addiction, my gift is invention, and my acidic frequency is silence. Or not my, but the. The shadow is addiction, the gift is invention, and the acidic frequency is silence. And so when it comes to thoughts, it's like addiction is thinking the same thoughts over and over, telling yourself the same things, repeating the same things, doing the same things over and over and over and over again, regardless of what they are. Invention is like allowing your circular thoughts to become spiral thoughts. So allowing the gap that comes when from not thinking, so that's why you would meditate or do something to like shift your energy, allowing that gap to create a quantum leap in your thinking, and then you start having invention. You start coming up with new ideas, or not necessarily new ideas, but you create more space for them to download. Oh yeah, my wow, I'm gonna hit you. I'm gonna send you my WhatsApp info. My mind be moving. But Miko, what's that? The Keyz, y'all, the Keyz. Oh yeah, just that. Playing the game right, and so the download from Richard, so it was this guy, Richard Rudd, and he was talking about addiction and talking about how it was just like any thinking is addictive. And I'm like, okay, that has me thinking about addiction in an even totally different way. Like, you know, because I know I have what they call an addictive personality, you know what I mean? Like, I like something, I like to keep doing it, I get attracted to something, like, that's my thing, that's what I'm doing, like, you know what I mean? Indulging, I'm a Taurus, so, like, material matters to me, so whatever, you know, I like to eat, but seeing it as, from a Gene Keyz perspective, right? From a astrology perspective, like, and it's, like, so helpful to have both, right? Because astrology reminds you that, like, if you're a Taurus, you have, like, stubborn energy, that you can be with self-indulgent, just things of that nature, right? And so when I relate that to the Gene Key, where it's addiction and invention and silence, like when I relate to that to the Gene Key, like the addictive tendency of being stubborn, the addictive tendency of wanting to eat the same things and wanting to dine in the same things and wanting to do the same things. And once I understand that, like, okay, but that also is just the shadow of it. I don't have to be... Right, human design too. Shout out, wow. Yeah, human design is one of the main components of the Gene Keys, the guy who wrote Gene Keys studied under, I don't want to mispronounce, like, nobody's stuff, but, he studied under the guy who put together and was the vessel for human design, and then he was the vessel for Gene Keys. And so, Gene Keys is an awesome transmission, and it talks about the difference between meditation and concentration, and the middle ground is contemplation, right? So meditation is you try to release yourself from all thoughts. Like, you try to calm your mind, make it not think anything, create a total gap in space, and put your mind in actual silence, right? But you're trying to put your mind in silence. You're trying to be silent. And then concentration is trying as well, but it's focusing like real hard on something. So concentration would be more, gracias, wow. It's like more so like yoga, or more so like even karate or something like that. That would be concentration. But contemplation is taking both tactics and just playing with it. So like playing with the idea that your breath might actually like have something to do with your currency. You know what I mean? And play with it. See how it makes you feel. Like, be the scientist, be the experiment. And because like so many people have experimented with this before, because we all are humans, we all, like, literally everything that any human has ever been through is somewhere in your DNA. And the Gene Keys will highlight what specific wounds are in your DNA that we're unwounding right now and tapping into our gifts about. But, right, it just tells you, like, what you can do rather than telling you who you are. That's why, even with astrology, like, I love astrology because I love understanding cycles, and I love understanding archetypes. But astrology is just somebody else that understands science and then tells you their story about it. You know what I mean? Like, I was writing horoscopes. I had a clothing line when I was in LA, and, well, you know, whatever the case may be. And we turned it into a digital magazine, and I was writing horoscopes. That's how I even got into astrology in the first place. But I just started to understand how the energy works, or to follow people that understood how the energy works, and wrote my own stories that I knew would make people feel good, or feel how I wanted them to feel from coming to the experience. And it was actual, it was intuitive, but it was also like my projection of how I want people to perceive the energy that I understand, which is what we're all doing at all times. But what I really want people to understand now is, instead of like taking the story that I'm telling you, like, know that you're telling yourself this story, and you can do whatever you want with it. You know what I mean? Like, you can take whether or not me telling you about Gene Keys is something you're interested in or not interested in, or is necessary, or is a tool for you, or something you really want to dive into, or like, you don't give a fuck about. You know what I mean? Like, you can just, like, it just continues to remind us of the opportunity for choices that we have, and shows you a direct reflection of what choice you're at, and like speaks directly to you, you know? So, yeah. Gene Keys. Yeah, it's been very powerful. So yeah, when I first found it, after that meditation, I looked and I found the book, and I'm like, okay, this dude, Richard Rudd, he got the Gene Keys book, and like, I was like searching for it, right? And I found a link. Shout out to Keyz. I found a link that I could download the book for free, or for an exchange of my energy, my internet energy, you know what I mean? But like, get that book so I can really start tapping into it. And also, if you like audiobooks, it's available on Scribd, Scribd. I'm gonna send all this. You're supposed to be making the new human, right? You got the 22nd Gene Key. Wow, that's what I'm saying. Like, Activated Soul got that in there too. But it's just another way that we can react and relate to what's happening naturally, and a way that we can embrace the shadows, remember that the shadows are the seeds for the gifts, and remember that from the gift to the city is a natural process, you know, instead of like forcing ourselves to be away, instead of like, you know, we can just embrace that we already are, you know what I mean? And yeah. Say that? Oh, you cooking? Let me see if the if they wanna show y'all. We appreciate really I'm not gonna not say we're scholars, you know what I mean? Like I appreciate that, but for real, it's just about being a vessel for what you want. You know what I mean? Clearing yourself to receive the energy that you want to be. You know what I mean? Like I want to be more activated. I want to be more in alignment. So I'm getting out of the way of myself and like letting it's not me. You know what I mean? It's like it's me. I'm the vessel that it comes through. But we're all just reflecting. We're all just taking like you know what I mean? We're just all sharing. It's about sharing. You know what I mean? Like this comes to me and I want to share with y'all. That's all. Like I just want to share. You know what I mean? Wow, we about to get it in. I'm about to when I WhatsApp you, I want to see your chart and all that. I'm definitely interested to build. Okay. We shouldn't be afraid. Don't be afraid to tap into your shadow. Like tap into that motherfucker and love that motherfucker.
Embrace your shadow. Lentils? The lentils. Yeah. The red onion.
Wow. So I would give y'all a tour of where we staying at, but I don't know if the Wi-Fi is gonna go all the way over there. But yeah, like we were sharing earlier. Oh yeah, I gotta get back to GT's. Divine Timing. But yeah, this place opens up in December. If y'all are looking for an organic jungle experience, but your own experience is already happening to you by way of nature. Yes, putting the puzzle pieces together. Mine astrology is cool. Is super cool. Like I love all forms of astrology. You know what I mean? Like all things that help you to remember yourself. You know what I mean? Every single thing. You can look at everything as poetry and take everything as a message to yourself and see how much it means to you. You know? And so like I just happen to like that's my favorite. Gene Keyz is my favorite poetry. Shit. Oh snap. Gene Keyz just happens to be my favorite poetry right now, you know? Yeah. Oh, you said you just messaging this. Okay, but I'm gonna DM you. Yeah, y'all. So I'm grateful. I'm just grateful to share. Because that's what we're here for. I don't know if y'all got any questions about the Gene Keyz. I don't know if I answered anything. As soon as I get off this live or in the divine time after this live, I'll definitely send y'all the links for the book, for where to get your hologenetic profile, and for I got a couple other links just to understand it more. And I really I've done a lot of research, like trying to get stuff without paying with cash. And so just a lot of searching, a lot of digging, and then remembering, this is all internal, right? And so the more that I did, internal work, the more stuff came. Gene Keyz came when I decided to go inside and be like, okay, this may be a dumb question. How exactly is shadow work? Right, okay, that's a great question. That's a great question. So I actually put up a little post about shadow work on my personal page, on the Paragon Majesty page, but shadow work is literally just choosing to understand that we all have darkness in us and all have negative energy in us, and identifying what that energy is and choosing to embrace it and love it and choosing it to see it for the gift that it can be. And so it's basically all the stuff that not only you have repressed in your life, but all the stuff your ancestors have repressed, all the stuff any human beings have ever repressed. Really, if you want to get all the way fractal with it on a microscopic level, everything that the first bacteria that ever existed went through, and everything that the cosmos went through. It's you choosing to heal the wound in your DNA, the specific blueprint that you were given to heal. You choosing to do that for your ancestors. You choosing to do that for people. You choosing to love the nasty parts of yourself, choosing to understand them, choosing to make space for them, choosing to allow them to be what they are and see them as a gift. You know what I mean? Really seeing the fucked up shit, seeing the stuff that's fucked up in your life, seeing the stuff that just doing the self work to take responsibility Like for me, shadow work meant redefining things. Like redefining what money meant to me, redefining what value meant to me. I've been doing that for more than some time, you know what I mean? And like it becomes clearer when as time, as this experience progresses, but it's all what anything means to you, and that's what this experience is going to be. And so Gene Keyz just allows you to reevaluate what things mean to you and reevaluate your understanding of yourself, as does, again, any resource can have you doing that. It's just about what floats your boat, you know? Like some people like astrology, some people like whatever, you know, they like we all like different stuff. It's all different things that's going to get us to remember that we're already here. We're already here, you know? Yeah. Bonjour. Yeah. Hydrate. It's really not scary. Oh, Audible. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, it's like, it's only scary because you have to face yourself, you know what I mean? So you're facing what you're afraid of in yourself. And whether you run from it or you embrace it, you have to face it eventually, like, or die, but, you know what I mean, evolve or die either way. And even, like, facing it is a death, you know what I mean? Like, we are dead, like, we're transforming into a new life. The weather is like that. Yeah, like it's rainy season right now, but it's literally been raining for like an hour a day, maybe 2 hours, and just be beautiful. Like I'm so grateful to experience this part of my my genealogy. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm definitely like finding the balance, and I guess this transition coming through, it probably relates to something in one of my gene keys or something like that, but I'm definitely finding the balance between responding accurately to things, how much attention things need, and you know what I mean? Like, I enjoy when we do the lives and we're not identifying with what's being said, because it's very much more in the present moment, even though we're aware that we're sharing. But then I also enjoy and understand like the intimacy of open conversation and the intimacy of being able to respond and exchange. So speaking of that, not water fasting, I'm just drinking a lot of water because, you know, I'm grateful. I used to think water was nasty. And now I'm just so grateful for like being hydrated and seeing the difference that, that structured water, shout out to water priestess, that structured water has on the body. You know, being able to speak to your water and flow with your water. All water is alive. You're just remembering that all water is living, and it's about what your interaction with water is. That coming into like my outlook on smoking, right? So, right, this went from damn Gene Keyz to still Gene Keyz, right? Because it taps into my addiction. So, I used to smoke a lot of backwards. Like, I used to work at the fucking weed shop on Crenshaw. I was what is that shit called? A bud tender. And so, like, I have a sacred relationship with weed that at one point I wasn't identifying as a sacred relationship, and it was being abused. And I had stopped smoking for a little while, and I had a lot of influences myself reflecting that were smoking, and I was like, something, I just want to take a break from smoking. I just want to take a break from smoking right now. And then when Lee and I came back into each other's orbits, actually, we started smoking. Well, he was smoking, and I started smoking again with him. And that brought to my attention and my awareness the way that it could be addictive tendencies, the shadow of addiction that was playing out and doing the same things and going back to a routine, going back to doing something that made me feel a way because I wanted to feel a way that I wasn't. And that's when I started to get all the information about, you know, like all the stuff that they're doing to weed, just like all the stuff that they're doing to food, and how they're just manipulating and abusing everything. But it's like I was manipulating manipulating and abusing my relationship to the sacred herb. And it's definitely like scientific fact, you know what I mean? Like cerebral hypoxia, like when smoke basically replaces the oxygen that is in your brain. But you know, like what are we exchanging? What are we exchanging? What's actually happening? And is that what's actually happening? Like, where'd you get that from? Like, then there's also, you know what I mean? Definitely the chemicals, definitely the pesticides, definitely everything that's being done to everything that we're consuming. And being more intentional and sacred with the exchange, right? Like accepting the shadows, coming to accepting the shadows. It's like, yeah, like, nigga, I like to smoke, and I know that it's something sacred that's happening, so let me shift my intimacy into this sacred exchange with the ganja, and know that this is a healing plant, and if this is happening to me, like, if I want to do this, let me make this work for me. If it's happening, let me make this work for me. And seeing the shift in that energy, and the shift in that intention behind the ganja, and the shift in treating it as a sacred ceremony, like, we begin on here and rolling up and smoking with y'all, because this is a sacred ceremony to be on here exchanging. You know what I mean? Like, to treat it as that and to continue to get more intimate with it, that shit is cool. You know what I mean? There's so many things we can do that are bad for us, that are negative for us, that are killing us. Like, all of us are being parasites, you know what I mean? All of us are doing some shit that's not the healthiest for us. None of us are exempt from the shadow. None of us in this human experience are exempt from the shadow. And so, like, let's embrace that shit and share that we all share the shadow, and, like, be actual in ways that we can heal from that, but through embracing it, you know what I mean? Through acceptance of it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Y'all know what I mean. Yeah. So, yeah, it's happening. And so, yeah, the Gene Keyz is like just a great reflection to tap into, just a great download, a great tool, like a great tool to have in the toolbox. Like, all that stuff is a great tool to have in the toolbox. Use it when you must, when you feel you need, when you want. Right back. I appreciate y'all. Like, we love to share, you know what I mean? That's what we want to do. And the fact that we can sustain ourselves simply by sharing, you know what I mean? By remembering that nothing is ours and everything is supposed to be shared. Like, that's amazing. Like, I'm so grateful, you know what I mean? Right, ooh, Chris, back pain. Stop waiting. I had to tell this to myself the other day, right? But not stop waiting, accept waiting. Accept waiting, right? And so there's patience, and then there's waiting. And then there's patiently waiting. And so you can, like, waiting is the act of wanting something that you don't have, right? Like, if you're waiting for something to happen, it's something that you don't have that you want to happen. Like, if you're waiting to go somewhere, you're waiting to do something, you're waiting to be something, like, that just means you're in a state of lack, actually. And it's okay. Like, it's okay to identify with that self. It's like, that's totally natural and totally normal to want to have something that you don't have, to want to be somewhere that it seems like you aren't, you know what I mean? And that shadow can lead to the gift of understanding. The shadow can lead to it. The shadow ultimately leads to. Damn, I forgot what I was talking about. Thank God. Right. Dang. Right, I'm saying the difference between waiting and being patient, right? So when you are being, but look, patient, in my perception, in my understanding right now, my current reflection of my journey, patience is the act of not waiting at all. Patience is the act of total acceptance of the moment. It's accepting that, like, what you think you're waiting for, it's the moment when you realize what you're waiting for already exists in the present moment. And the more you focus on it, the more it comes to you. And so you're actually not waiting. You're just, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not waiting for anything to happen to me right now. But I know that everything's happening because it's happening right now in this moment. Everything I want, I have in this now moment. The family that I want, the love that I want, the respect I want to have for myself, the You know, like all those things I have in that now moment. Safety, security, divine protection, cosmic nourishment, a meek soul. I have all of that right now. And so instead of waiting for a new experience, and this is something that had to be developed before, you know what I mean? This is something that we didn't get here and feel like that. We felt like that and then got here. And it's not even a big deal. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a part of this process. It's a part of the journey. And so, right, but patiently waiting is the path to patience. You know, like first you wait, and you can be impatient. You can be super impatient waiting. You can be patient at waiting. You know what I mean? And that's like the transition. Like you can be patiently waiting. You can be of something. Like the pronoun. Is it the pronoun? No, not the pronoun. What's at the end? What is it called when it's at the end? Like ly, L-Y, like happily. Suffix. Sorry, the suffix. The suffix ly, which is so interesting because that's Lee and I. That's our last name. That's our identification name, you know. And so Lee, you can bring something down from the divine and express it at the gift frequency when you are Lee. Like patience is the acidic frequency. And remember I was saying earlier in the gene keys, like the acidic frequency is the pure light. It's the pure light, and right now it's not being. Right now, because of the filters that are happening, the pure light can only be expressed in the gift frequency. Like it can only be experienced and still shared in the gift frequency. Like once it's expressed in the acidic frequency, you're not experiencing individualism anymore. It's total oneness, and that's like happening, but it's a part of evolution and involution. But so in the gift frequency, like so maybe we can't be patient and still be in 3D, but we can patiently wait. Like maybe we can't be true patient. You know what I mean? Like true not waiting for anything. Because I can say like, okay, I'm not waiting for anything right now, but I know like we are moving towards new things. You know what I mean? I know that we're receiving things, and it's not that I'm like, oh my gosh, when is this gonna happen? But it's happening. You know what I mean? And I can't deny that I think about what it is that's happening or how it is that's happening is gonna make me feel. And so feel very patient. But probably I'm still patiently waiting because I'm still here. I'm still expressing the gift. So I'm probably still patiently waiting. But patiently waiting is the path. It can be the portal to true patience. And waiting can be the path or portal to patiently waiting. You know what I mean? So identifying and embracing that there's something in this now moment that you think you don't have leads to the opportunity to realize that you have it in this now moment. And then you like eventually become the now moment totally. You know, but while you're here, the gift is being able to experience all that in this now moment. You know what I mean? And so we want to understand our shadows and let that quantum leap us into our gifts. And we're doing it together. You know what I mean? Like all of us, all 18 of us that are in here right now, we're totally all activating our genetics. You know what I mean? And it's continuing to happen. Everything you do is activating your genetics. But just the fact that you're here and you're like understanding this right now, the fact that you're sharing this present moment here, you could be doing anything with your energy right now. You could be doing anything with your energy, and you're using it right here, right now. Word to my boy Meek, he always brings that to our awareness. You could be doing anything. And you're doing this. Think about what you're doing right now. Think about what you are receiving right now. You know what I mean? I'm so grateful. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for loving. Thank you. I love you so much. I love y'all so much.
You have your value.
I love y'all so much. Everything that everyone has to say has such value. It's also how much it means to you, what the matter is to you. But everything's valuable depending on who values it. You know what I mean? And how much value we put to anything. Yeah, so I just get excited when like when things come together. Ooh, shit. I'm like, this cursing is like like pushing the curses away. Like, you know what I mean? Like I peep that I've been cursing a lot, but I feel more so like not like I've been using negative language, but that I'm like I'm creating a force field almost with like, you know what I mean? Like, right. And the curses really are like abundant things, you know what I mean? Like shit is our soil, you know what I mean? And like even bitch, the word bitch actually the root of it comes from it being like divine feminine energy. And so we're using it and saying like bitch, or you know how girls be like this, stuff like that. They're really being like, yo, divine feminine, I see you, I see your soul, but we just have so many like layers and veils over it. So, like, yeah. Ooh, I'm glad you like my voice, Diva. I love my voice too. It's taking some self-love. But I'm so grateful. But yeah, no, like, keep using shit if it's happening for you, Chris. Like, use what's happening, make it work for you. You know what I mean? Like, whatever's happening, make it work. Like, that's when I realized, like, I'm not ashamed to use those words or feel like I'm doing something wrong because, like, there's a reason why. It's something in our DNA that's making me use them, you know? Right. I'm so grateful for having this space and for me, for Lee, for like having so much spaces to share. Space to share, you know? And that's why everything always works out, because when you share and you remember that nothing is yours, but everything is all of ours, like, you get more, you have everything that you need, and then you're able to share your excess, and then everybody else has what they need, and they're able to share their excess, so we all got what we actually need, you know, instead of like, I got what I need, you got what you need, okay, let's figure out how we can, like, you know, like, no, like, nigga, we got this thing that everybody needs, and we got this thing that everybody needs, and we got this thing that everybody needs, and like, you know, so that's where, but that's, again, the shadows transforming into the gift. The gift is teamwork. The shadow is interference. You know what I mean? Like, when you stop interfering with each other and how this life plays out and start being a team and play together as a team and realize that it works together. Don't be sorry. Don't be sorry, ho, be careful. Nah, but for real, don't be, there's something to be sorry about. You know what I mean? Like, you're not sorry. You're not low to the ground. You're awesome. You're amazing. Like, I'm grateful. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being here.
Welcome to Paragon.
Lee, what's it looking like in the kitchen? We got Tico Miko over here.
Yeah. What? Why? Big facts. What up, Wild? What up, Miss Bogart? Ayola? What up, Chris?
Much love. Yeah, y'all. So, I'm grateful because I know some of y'all have my DM because I know y'all really want to receive this info. So I'm actually about to hop off and send y'all that. So by the time this food is done, by the time I do that, we can eat. What is that, baby?
This right here is that butternut, peppers, onions, garlic. You know what I mean? I could throw some katuk greens in here.
Ooh, yeah. You should grab some. Actually, you go grab some. Oh, watch out, man, the peppers.
We didn't necessarily.
It would be great, even if we put raw in it. So we have this green that's growing at the property that we're staying in. Like, it's actually right here, but there's a field of it, and then some of it over some of us too. And it's like real good for you. It's got a lot of iron, a lot of. Oh, what you making, Star? What you making, Gina? What you making, girl? Yeah, so we like to just throw that in and make sure like we're getting some extra nutrients, you know what I mean? Getting what we need and letting the excess go back down to the plants around us, into the animals around us, energy around us. Ooh, I'll take that as a compliment. Thank you. She said I look like a young Macy Gray. I'll take that as a compliment. Do you know who Macy Gray is? Ooh, yum. Yum. Right? We've been getting